The river had two banks. On the eastern bank lived Mira, a small, rust-brown sparrow with one wing slightly crooked from a storm she had survived 3 winters ago. She built her nest from dry grass and bent twigs, and every morning she sang, not beautifully, not the kind of song that made other birds stop mid-flight, but steadily, faithfully, like a pulse. On the western bank lived Kyle, a kingfisher, iridescent, electric blue. When he dove into the water, the river itself seemed to hold its breath. Mira had watched Kyle every single day for 2 years. At first, it was innocent, admiration, the way his feathers caught the light, the way fish leapt toward him as if surrendering, the way the other birds parted for him at the watering stones. But admiration, left unguarded, is a door that swings both ways. Soon, Mira stopped eating at her usual hour. She would wait, watching to see how Kyle ate. She began building her nest lower, near the water's edge, even though the damp rotted her twigs. She tried diving once, twice, 7 times, plunging beak first into the river to catch fish the way Kale did. She nearly drowned on the 5th try. An old tortoise named Dahan had been watching from his rock. He said nothing. He waited. By the 3rd year, something had broken inside Mira. She had stopped singing entirely. Not gradually. One morning, she simply opened her beak and the sound wouldn't come. She sat on her wet, crumbling nest and looked across the river at Kyle's magnificent hollow in the clay bank, smooth and deep, built for a bird made entirely of purpose. Why was I made like this, she thought, and not like that? The crooked wing ached in the cold. It always ached. She had learned long ago to fly with the ache, angling slightly left to compensate, riding thermals longer than other sparrows needed to. She had mapped every wind current above the eastern bank this way. She knew where the warm columns rose in the morning. She knew where the cold pockets sat in the afternoon. She knew the river's breath better than any bird alive. She had never once noticed that she knew this. The crisis came on a still afternoon in October. A hawk, enormous, pale-eyed, silence itself, entered the valley. It moved like a blade through fog. Every bird scattered. The kingfisher vanished into his clay burrow. The herons folded themselves flat into the reeds. Mira froze. Then something ancient and unthinking took over. Not courage, not decision, but knowing. Her crooked wing opened. She angled left. She caught the warm thermal she had learned years ago during all those failed diving attempts, during all those mornings she had spent watching instead of flying. She rose, higher than she had ever risen. And from that height she saw the hawk's flight path, a narrow corridor between two updrafts. She screamed, one sharp, piercing note, not musical, not beautiful, a warning that cracked across the valley like a branch in winter. Every bird heard it. The hawk, startled by her height and her certainty, banked away. It disappeared over the northern ridge. Silence fell on the river. Then, from the western bank, a sound she had never heard before. Kyle's voice. He never sang. Kingfishers aren't built for song. But he called out across the water, short and sharp, the only sound his throat knew. It meant, "I heard you." Don, the old tortoise, finally spoke. He had been on that rock for 60 years, and he chose words the way a miser counts coins. Carefully, rarely, only when necessary. "You spent 3 years trying to become a river bird," he said to Mira. "You nearly drowned. You rotted your nest. You lost your song." Mira said nothing. "But today," Dane continued, "you saved every creature on this river by being exactly the bird your life made you into." "I have a crooked wing," Mira said, and her voice was flat with the old pain. "Yes," said Don. "And because of that crooked wing, you learned the thermals. And because you learned the thermals, you could rise when no one else could. And because you rose, we lived." He pulled his head slightly back into his shell, the way he did when he considered something final. "The hawk would have killed the kingfisher first," he added quietly. "He is beautiful and obvious. You were invisible to the hawk, because you were never trying to be seen. You were only ever trying to be him." That night, Mira rebuilt her nest. Higher this time, drier. She used the materials she had always used, grass, bent twigs, the particular fiber from the old tamarind bark that she alone knew how to strip. Her beak remembered the motions, her body remembered its own logic. And in the morning, before the sun had fully separated itself from the horizon, she sang. It was not a beautiful song. It was her song, uneven in places, dropping where another bird's might soar, shaped by cold mornings and failed dives, and a wing that had healed wrong, and a life that had been, in every way, entirely her own. Across the river, Cale sat at the entrance to his clay burrow. He listened until she finished. Then he called out once more, short, sharp, unglamorous, "I hear you."